Congressman Byron Donalds joins us now to talk about the latest and this story and more. Congressman, welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Man, it's a pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You know, you are you've got a very an up close and personal seat on this ride, watching all of the developments over the last week. It's been a really rough ride for Democrats, but it really has been smooth sailing for President Trump.
It has been. Actually, I talked to the president the other day. I told him, I was like, you might be having the best week ever. The debate, obviously, in Atlanta the president was great, and then Joe Biden was such a disaster. And now you have a situation where the press and the Democrats are all eating themselves because they're trying to find a way to get Joe Biden out. They realize they can't really get Joe Biden out. The press has whatever credibility they had is now officially gone because they were covering up for him. And then the polling just looks awful. Donald Trump's up massively against Joe Biden in every swing state. Even if you try to talk about Kamala, he's up massively on her. I think a new poll just came out about that. Things are looking good, but I want to tell all your listeners, none of that matters. The only thing that matters now is getting out the vote. It doesn't matter how you get out the vote. You got to get out the vote. People need to get to the polls. There's a bunch of voters out there that we got to get registered to vote. A lot of people who typically do not vote, we got to get them to the polls. What matters now is execution, not just laughing at the Democrats, because eventually they're going to get their act together, and they do have a machine that they're going to turn on. And it's important that every American loving this country, patriots all through our country, we get the vote out in every one of these swing states. That's the thing that matters right now.
I think that's a fair point. Congressman Byron Donalds with us right now. The president's talked about making it too big to rig. You have the Protect the Vote effort, and there are efforts in states all across the country right now in trying to get aimed at getting people low prop voters, people who would vote would vote for Trump, but yet for some reason sit it out and don't. It's crazy how many churches there are people in churches all across this country that just don't vote, and yet if they would, things would be dramatically different. Hunters, there are all these different categories of folks that if they could just get out and vote. And of course, in Michigan, like where I'm at, we've got all these new rules that have gone into effect, or you can register permanent absentee and all these things to take advantage of the rules, the way they had shifted things and changed things and put them in our favor. And they're just things that the president has embraced with that effort to make it too big to rig.
Yeah, totally agree. And I know, obviously, we're gonna get back to the politics, but I would be remiss if we don't do this. There's a lot of Christians. And God bless you. God bless you all. They are prayer warriors. But my Bible says faith without works is dead. You got to get to the polls. You got to vote. We have a lot of hunters, people who are Second Amendment believers, followers, and love that part of not just the entire Constitution, but they hold the Second Amendment sacred. But you got to get to the polls to protect that. These Democrats, these people are nuts. And so whether it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, it doesn't matter who they put up there. The radical agenda remains the same. We are in a battle against their agenda, not just Joe Biden. And so me personally, I think Joe Biden isn't going anywhere. That's what I think. So I'm sticking to that point because his family is a family of grifters. He has always wanted to be president, and whether he's here with us today or not, he's going to hold on to that thing for all dear life. But this is about our country, and what it requires is citizens to get out there and do the thing that must be done. We have the candidate. Donald Trump's going to get the job done, folks. He's going to go back to Washington. He's going to get the job done as the 47th president. But you got to get out there and you got to vote. And it's voting for him, and it's voting for Republicans in the Senate, Republicans in the House. Even though, look, I'm a Republican in the House, and sometimes my colleagues piss me off too. I get it. But we got to have the bodies in Washington, D.C. to actually get the job done.
You have mentioned being at the debate, and I think I saw you there in the spin room and all that, and talking to folks afterwards. One of the things we heard from the president was the tease in the true Trump form and the showmanship that that he's so good at is that, that his vice president, the running mate, would be at the event. So I got to ask you about it. I'm not doing my job if I don't. Well, any news you want to share with us? or what's your take on maybe if that call comes, answering it?
Well, let me see. First, I know America would love me to break news, but I'm not saying a word. I have no information to share with anybody. I mean, look, Donald Trump is going to make that decision. He's going to decide, and then what's going to happen is I think everybody on that list, we're all going to rally around that decision, and we're going to go and be focused on victory. That's the only thing that really matters at this point. If the call came, of course, I would say yes. There's no doubt about that. I've been very clear on that. But I think the real focus is who's going to help the president to get through this election cycle, get through the process of winning voters all through this country. I'll tell you, you talk to him, he wants to win every state. He wants to win New Jersey. He wants to win New Hampshire. He wants to win everywhere. He doesn't want to just get 272 electoral votes. He wants over 300 electoral votes. So he wants to win everywhere. So I think the vice presidential pick, has got to help him do that and then help him accomplish the agenda, be his partner to accomplish that agenda to make America great again. But whoever he picks, I'm for. I just want to win. I got into politics really about a decade ago. And it takes a lot of time away from your family, away from home. And so I don't mind making the sacrifice. I just want the sacrifice to count. And so I'm here to win. I want to get the job done. That's where everybody's focus is. And I'll tell you, as a party, I've not seen us this united in a long time. We are united because we see just how terrible the Democrats can be when they have unchecked power. And so we gotta do what needs to be done. We gotta win. Whoever he picks, I'm with.
I've got to ask you. This is another one of these. As you mentioned, it looks like they may be stuck with Biden, but I've talked to a number of folks about what may happen next, or who possibly may be filling that role if he does decide to step aside. And any number of reasons for that, but if that does happen, who it might be. And over and over again, it comes back to, and one of the best ways I heard it put was from a man here in Michigan who said, black man said this: if they try to toss Kamala Harris aside, it'd be like sending her to the back of the bus like Rosa Parks. It'd be the end of the party. So essentially, I have to ask you, and what do you make of that? And I know you've come out on record talking about the fact that you don't think it matters who they pick, but let me just ask you about that.
I don't think it matters, but you're correct. They cannot step over Kamala Harris. They would have. You think they're imploding now? It would be a major earthquake in that party if they decided to go with Gavin Newsom stepping over Kamala Harris. It's just not possible. I just don't see how that would happen politically. And then the other piece is, I think the way campaign finance laws are set up, the amount of money that they've raised for Joe Biden's reelection can only go to Kamala Harris. If they go to somebody else, they essentially have to refund all the money and re-raise all the money. And that's a real mess. And none of that I don't think that can really happen until after their convention, which means that now they're trying to raise money in late August, September for a presidential election where ballots in most areas are going out in late September, October. That doesn't work. And so right now they're caught between a rock and a hard place, but it's their own fault. They knew Joe Biden was not with us, and they wanted him to run, and he wanted to run. And you could blame Joe Biden for that. You can blame the Biden family for that. Obviously everybody knows, I guess Hunter Biden's now back in the White House. He's the one making decisions. This is great. This is great for our country. But they're stuck between him and Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, she could not win. She couldn't get to a state to run for a state when she was running for the presidency back in 2020. People forget she couldn't even get to a state to run for a state when she was running for the presidency back in 2020. People forget she couldn't even get to a state. So that's their fault. That's what they're dealing with.
Congressman Byron Donalds, the other thing that I think is important about all of this is, and I'll let you have the last word here, but it doesn't matter whoever they pick, whoever they switch out. It's these radical policies from the Democrats. It's the agenda that will stay the same, and it's that agenda and these extreme policies that have done all the destruction and the damage here in this country. And that's what's still going to be on the line.
Totally agree. I mean, look, understand, they have massive open borders. Do you hear a Democrat or anybody in the media complaining about immigration this last week? They're not. They're concerned about Joe Biden's performance. They've spent billions and billions of dollars of money we did not need on this Green New Deal crap. They're going to spend, according to Wall Street, another trillion and a half more in tax credits for the Green New Deal scam. Is anybody in the media complaining about that? Is any Democrat complaining about that? They have massive regulations that make no sense, everything from getting rid of gas stoves to trying to get rid of the internal combustion engine and everything in between. Do you hear anybody in the media or in the Democrat Party complaining about that? No. These people like the agenda. They like what Joe Biden has done. That's not the issue. The issue is that they don't think he can sell to the American people anymore, and then Donald Trump will win and basically take apart their entire agenda. That's what's freaking them out. And then all this mess about democracy. I will not listen to the Democrats lecture anybody on democracy. It's Joe Biden that's violated the Supreme Court precedent, not once but twice, on student loans. It's Joe Biden that does not faithfully execute the laws of the land with respect to securing the border. It's Joe Biden that fired members of our military for not taking a COVID vaccine. It's Joe Biden that has spied and suppressed speech of the American people. He is the destroyer of the constitutional republic that is the United States of America. So their only concern is they don't have a spokesperson right now. That's what's freaking them out. We have the candidate in Donald J. Trump. We got to get the vote out. We got to get out and work hard for this, for Donald Trump. We do that, we win. It's that simple.
Congressman Byron Donalds, thank you for taking the time, sir. Appreciate it. Definitely love to talk to you again soon.